What is even up, everyone? Today we're talking about slow motion. But first, I gotta find a spot. 1 second. Look, I really like to learn from mistakes, no matter if they're my own or other people's mistakes. And what happens when you learn from mistakes? You do something wrong, and then you're like, oops, that's not the way to do it. Or maybe there's a better way to do it. So today's video is about me sharing one more mistake with you guys. And I gotta be honest, this mistake I used to do for years in a row. So when we're talking about slow motion, you gotta obviously take into account frames per second. And of course, maybe you've heard of the numbers, the 24, 30 frames, 60 frames, 120, whatever crazy numbers you've heard. And maybe that's still confusing for you. Now, let's not go there yet. I think it's more important to actually understand what frames per second are, because for some people it's pretty obvious, but the way I like to think about it is how many times your camera is actually blinking to take a picture per second. So try to do this now. See how many times can you blink in 1 second. I probably did like 5. How many times can you do it? So basically every frame, every time your camera blinks, that's how many times it takes a picture per second. So of course, the more blinks, the more pictures you have per second, the better smooth slow motion you can do. So maybe it happened to you that you were filming in 24 or 30 frames a second and you tried to slow that footage down and it looked really laggy. It was like robot dance, robot dance. So now that we got that out of the way, I think the second most important thing to do is to understand how to slow that footage down according to how many frames per second you filmed in. And that's what the video today is about, the editing mistake after filming in slow motion. However, just to make a quick note, one of the reasons you might want to film in slow motion is so that you can stabilize your video. Because if I'm filming and I'm shaky, and then I slow down that footage, all of a sudden, it will be a little bit more smoother. So depending on your footage, depending what kind of action you're filming, just because you filmed in slow motion can help with the stabilization. So today I just thought I'll grab my bike, come into the forest, and film myself while I literally ride the bike in slow motion, nothing fancy, just to prove my point. And once we do that, we'll take this in editing. So let me grab my bike. Okay, I think I found a pretty good spot. I'll let you guys down here, and I'm gonna be coming from that direction, pedaling quite fast, and I'll try to drift here in this small intersection a little bit so that we can actually use this part of the footage for the slow motion example today. By the way, we're filming in 120 frames per second, so we're blinking quite fast. Let's go! Okay, I think that was pretty good. I didn't hurt myself. So I'm gonna go home and edit this. For you, it's gonna be a split of a second. For me, probably more like 20 minutes. So see you in a split of a second. Okay, that was more like 2 days for me, but that doesn't matter. I'm here for you. So let's look at that slow motion footage, because what you just saw, that's how it got out of the camera at 120 frames per second. Let's look into my timeline here. As I said, this is how it got out of the camera, right? So of course, if you want to speed this up, what you're gonna do, let me put this away. What you're gonna do is probably right click on it, go on speed duration, and say I want this 200% of the speed. And then you speed it up, you play it back, and of course it plays it twice as fast, right? In this particular scenario, it's not a bad way to do it. You right click on your footage and select in percentage how fast or slow you want that footage. But what if you want to speed it up or slow it down multiple times? Well, let's see how we do that. Now, what I used to do for a while was splitting my footage. Let's say I wanted it to enter a bit faster until here, then I would cut it right here. Then I would say I would like this portion right here to be a bit in slow motion, so I would cut it again here, and then maybe I wanted this again faster, and then this in slow motion. So of course, before I used to literally right click on each of them, go on speed duration, and select how fast or slow I want each of these part. But of course, a lot of times I looked at my footage the second day and I wanted to adjust it. I wanted to do something different. What you should do to have a bit more flexibility and to not ending up hating the editing process is actually go right here on this little icon, right click on it, select time remapping, and then click speed. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Thank me later. See you guys in the next. No, I'm kidding. So what you want to do now is, while holding down the control key on your keyboard, you want to select a point on your footage where you want to give it a mark. So let's say I would like to enter a bit faster, so I would go from, well, maybe from the beginning until here. Hold down control and click on this line. The same at the beginning of the footage. And now you have an option. You see you got this little arrows next to your cursor. Now you can either speed up or slow down your footage, and of course it shows you in percentage how much you're doing it. So for example, if I want that speeded up, I pull that thing up and let's see how that looks. Ooh, butter. That looks good, doesn't it? From here on, maybe I want the next portion even slower than this. So what I would do the same thing. I would hit down control and click on this and then pull it down. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, well, I don't really like how that looks. It looks a bit laggy, so if I really need to do this like that, I will just maybe pull it up a little bit like this. Yeah, that looks a bit better. The amazing thing about this way of doing it is that if you hold down Alt on your keyboard and select one of these markers, you can actually move it back and forth. So you don't end up with a footage that is cut like 5 times, and then if you change your mind, you need to do it a million times again. But guys, this was pretty much it. I hope this was helpful. I know some of you are like, that was really insightful, and some of you are like, really, that was it? But there's a lot of small things like this, and no matter what editing software you're using, there's a lot of small things like this that you don't know that you don't know, and you find them out by accident or by googling something else. I remember how I found out about this. I was watching some unrelated video and the guy was like, okay, let me slow down my footage, and then he was doing it, and then as I was watching, I was like, oh, I've never done that. Oh. So if you like this video just a little bit, maybe consider subscribing, like it, leave me a comment, ask me about my health and passions, and please stick around. There's a lot of cool videos coming up. I have some client videos that I don't want to tell you about yet, and a lot of cool ideas for future videos. So see you guys in the next video, hopefully. Ciao.